Yeah, I'm gonna need a whole season. I'm gonna need a whole season of this. I'm gonna need a whole few seasons of this, honestly. That was stupendous, immaculate. I don't know when we'll get another season because I think I heard that this is actually like a seasonal manga. Like Kubo just kind of writes it for a little while, takes a break, and then comes back and writes more, which honestly is probably how manga should be written. I've been hearing horror stories about like what it's like to write manga, and it sounds like doing the seasonal thing might actually be the way to go, unless you're consuming it, in which case, you want it all the time. But, you gotta think about these people's health. That said, I need it. I'm just gonna need a whole season. Whenever Kubo finds the time to write an entire arc that they can animate, yeah, I'm gonna need that to happen because, wow, Burn the Witch is, like, good. It's, like, really good. So with that said, hello everybody. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, I talk about seasonal anime here on the channel, although I don't know if this counts. I think this is more of like an OVA. I also talk about OVAs when they, pique my interest like Burn the Witch clearly has, but if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. Ring the bell! Let it ring out that all of AniTube knows you are here. Let it be known. Hit that sub button. Ring that bell. Do it. You're already here. You might as well do it. Just go ahead and do it. Now let's go ahead and start the video. So, this little three-part, I believe they called it like a movie on Mal. It's more of like an OVA, or ONA? OVA? Whatever. Like, it's more of like an OVA type thing. It's like 3 parts long. And it flies by like super fast. This is about an hour long if you combine all the parts together. It doesn't feel like it. Honestly, it felt like just an average episode of a show. Like, that's how good it, like, flowed. There's little pieces that I was like, okay, like, that could have been explained more, or, like, we could have gone more into that, but given the runtime, it is what it is. And honestly, for what it is, I was shocked how quick of a watch this was, and how fun of a watch this was. Like, that's the big thing. This is fun. The beginning, like, makes it seem sort of like it's gonna be, like, edgy and, like, sort of, like, in your face, right? Because it starts with, like, oh, there's this girl, and she's wearing, like, this, like, cool outfit, and she's, like, being stalked by the paparazzi, but then she, like, jumps into this, like, other world, and it's, like, a reverse London, and it's like, whoa, that's cool, and the rest of it's, like, hella fun. Like, I was a little nervous, because I'm like, is this gonna be, like, is Kubo trying too hard? But then the instant that's over, you're like, oh, this is fun. And they basically start by hinting at where you are, right? Because it's like, this is reverse London. Where's reverse London? It's like the upside down for London, except it's not. It's just like literally London, but like the other side. And when something happens there, I think it translates over, from what I gather. And it's basically just like the magical side of London that sort of protects the other side. The other side. And I should state that they start by teasing where you are, right? Because there's this like little sign for the team that they work for. I can't remember what it is, like Wing something or other. Wingbind. It's Wingbind. That's like the name of the organization that is helping to protect not only reverse London but also main London. Because if reverse London is safe, main London is safe. And or top side or front side or whatever it was. That said, a sign blew up, so they're trying to fix the sign, and they're like, oh, they told us to put the monitor up first, and we see that, like, Ninny, the blonde main character, there's 2 main characters, but the blonde one is, like, a pop star of some kind, and that's gonna be important later. But I love that they're like, oh, we'll fix the sign first, we gotta put up the monitor first. I know it's goofy, but whatever. So there's clearly, like, it says Wingbind, but, like, there's clearly something else that it's supposed to say, and at the end of the episode, you see it say, Soul Society West Branch. And I was like, yes. Okay, so I knew that going into this, right? Like, I knew that Burn the Witch was like a sort of spin-off / sequel to Bleach, set after the final chapter, which I love because there's a chance that we can maybe see some Bleach characters cross over at some point. I don't super know how, because, like, keep in mind, I'm one of those dudes who loved Bleach and then fell off sometime during the Arankara. Like, I kind of fell off Bleach. It felt like it was spinning its wheels a bit. Now, that said, I miss Bleach terribly. And I was literally thinking about, like, maybe I should, like, rewatch some arcs of Bleach just because, like, man, I miss it. And then I was like, oh yeah, Burn the Witch came out. I should watch Burn the Witch. And watching it, you don't really feel, you feel the connection to Bleach in terms of, like, attitude. The designs are similar. Obviously, they're translating Kubo's work over, so there's going to be some similarity. And its general mood is, like, let's see cool stuff fighting. Like, that's Kubo to a T. And that is what you get here. A lot of the attitude, especially in the attitude of, like, Nini and our main antagonist of this particular arc, Bang Knife, which, like, is a great name. Bang Knife and Nini seem to, like, exude Bleach energy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that sort of, like, screw you, let's fight, and it's gonna look cool, and screw logic, we're gonna have a dope looking fight. And honestly, it works. Now, the thing with the story, though, as I said earlier, certain elements of the story feel like kind of rushed, but again, it makes sense because of the time frame, right? Like, not everything can fit. As an example, a character that I really liked was Balgo. Balgo has, like, a really fun type of personality. He's a bit pervy, like, but it's only pervy for, like, one scene, and it happens very briefly. Other than that, I'm like, I love Balgo. I actually kind of relate to Balgo. My man be lackadaisical, happy-go-lucky, wearing a goddamn hoodie, and just kind of along for the ride, kind of dumb. I relate to that, just kind of like along for the ride. And I was like, I like Balgo. I like him. I relate to him. I like him. I like his personality. He's fun and happy. But, you know, Balgo feels like he's missing a chunk of his story. And that could be intentional. It could be that, like, maybe they're going to dig into that at another time. Like, maybe they're going to come back for, like, another OVA or something and dig more into Balgo's history. But it just felt like it's like he's a dragon-clad, or I literally was 2 seconds away from calling him Dragonborn. Dragonborn! He's a dragon-clad. And it's like, what is that? I don't know. Like, dragons are just drawn to him. Why? Who the hell knows? So it's like, all right, I feel like we're missing a chunk of his story. But, again, I do think that maybe it's something that they want to dig more into at a later date, like to give Balgo a little bit more context and character. I already think he's a fun character, so I don't really mind. But I will say, like, story-wise, like, yeah, I could see some people having issue with that. Like, what is a dragonclad? Like, what is it actually besides just a person who draws dragons towards them? Why is he a dragonclad? Why is he obsessed with Noelle? Like, he's, like, outside of the obvious because Noelle is a top-tier waifu. But, like, why is he drawn to Noelle specifically? We don't really know. Balgo just kind of has a fun doggo. And don't get me wrong, Osushi is adorable, and Osushi is actually the pervy one, which is kind of funny. But yeah, Osushi is this, like, little adorable Pomeranian who can grow dragon wings. Cool. It's super fun. I love these two. Like, I love Balgo and I love Osushi. They don't get enough story, though. They're just kind of, like, there, and then they kind of get in trouble with Wingbind, and we're not super clear as to, like, how he got that specific power and stuff like that. It's interesting regardless, and how Balgo seems to be, like, drawing dragons towards him, especially when we find out that, like, the Cinderella dragon Ellie wouldn't have even gotten into contact with Macy if not for Balgo, so that's also kind of neat. As Macy, though, is like the reverse of that. Whereas Macy doesn't get as much time to be a fun character as Balgo, because Macy shows up like halfway through the second episode, and there's only 3. So she shows up about halfway through this whole thing, and so she doesn't get as much time. She does shine a little bit. She even sort of like made me rethink what I was shipping at the beginning. But yeah, Macy shows up, doesn't get as much time to shine as a character, but her journey feels far more complete than Balgo's. She has this really solid dynamic with Ellie, as well as a great past with Nini, and it sort of informs her character, especially by the time we get to that big scene where Ellie transforms into Cinderella. And basically they explain that she's one of 7 of these, like, magical, like, holy crap, super strong dragons that are, like, supposed to be killed on sight. Like, they are that strong. And it turns out that Ellie, this little dragon that Macy had been, like, raising on her own, and by the way, the design is so damn cute when she's small. It's like, oh, and like even as she's growing, I'm like, I don't really want her to die. You know what I mean? Like I felt bad when she went out because there's a moment where she stops and she's looking at Macy and it's clear that there's like that connection there. So Macy like probably feels bad about what happened. But yeah, it's this huge crazy fight and she looks intense, like sitting on top of Big Ben. And like she like lets off these little like stardust particles from her wings that are basically like mini bombs and they just explode. And it takes literally like the combination of our main crew plus Macy like stopping her plus the antagonist turning good, Bang Knife, who I'll admit is friggin' triple S tier husbando material, even though he's got a bad dye job, which is hilarious that they actually reference that in the show. They're like, that's the worst dye job I've ever seen. But yeah, Bang Knife is great. And then Billy Jr., who is apparently a total friggin' badass. Like, it actually gives certain characters who are more on the fringes, like Billy Jr., a chance to shine. And we see, like, we hear somebody say, like, I knew I didn't underestimate you, son of a hero. So it's like, oh, okay, so Billy Jr. is, like, a descendant of some great hero within the Western branch of Soul Society. So that's really interesting. And Bang Knife, I have to stress that Bang Knife is great. Like, I already said that Bang Knife is great, but he's basically evil Josuke, where if somebody insults the do, he's gonna be upset about it. Like, it is hella fun. And he's just a real SOB for most of it, right? Like, you're like, ooh, what a jerk. But his design is great, even though, yeah, as our girl points out, he has a bad dye job. His design is dope. I love his mask, that it moves with him. His dragon is cool as hell. And the fact that his magic uses spray paint. Remember how I said that, like, this man oozes bleach aura? This is what I mean. I also just, like, adore the setting. I just adore Reverse London. It gives me, like, really strong Wizarding World / Burke vibes. Wizarding World, obviously, from Harry Potter. Burke from How to Train Your Dragon. It gives me, like, what if we took these two things that are based on, like, real places, and we sort of, like, mash them together, and then we anime the shit out of it. Like, they anime the crap out of this. And it's marvelous. And I dare say, and come close. I gotta tell you something. I gotta tell you a secret. Come real close. Come close to the screen. Don't actually come close to the screen. That'd be weird. What are you doing? But I have to tell you something. I dare say, I might actually prefer this setting. I know. Now, don't get me wrong. If you don't know, I'm a huge Potterhead, except lately, because J.K. Rowling's kind of a jerk now. And by kind of, I mean a huge bitch. But anyway, so I still love the Wizarding World, even though JK sucks. And I love Burke. If you didn't know, I'm also a huge How to Train Your Dragon fan, especially the first two. I love those movies. But I legit love Reverse London. And if I spent more time here, I might prefer Burn the Witch. I'm not even kidding. I think the setting is dope. The architecture is perfect. It's perfect. You can tell I want to visit London. I've never been to London, and I totally want to go. But I think the architecture is so great, especially for the vibe that Kubo's going for here. It's perfect. It's super on point. And I love the concept of, like, dragons being, like, the cause of, like, at one point, the cause of 72% of deaths in London. But nowadays, like, that's just not, it just isn't that way because they have Wingbind. But back then, that 72% of deaths in regular London would have been just chalked up to something else, right? Because they can't see the dragons. So again, it's sort of like protecting regular people, protecting muggles from the things that they don't know, from the things that go bump in the night, you know? Like, I love that concept. The designs of the dragons are so cool. The setting itself is so dope. I love it to pieces. And I have to point out that Kubo goes in with the designs. I know that there's a different character designer who works on the series. It's not like Kubo is acting as character designer, right? But they translated Kubo's designs perfectly. And I gotta say, holy crap, my man goes in on the designs to the point where the outfits, the uniforms are fire. The uniforms are fire. Let that sink in. Let's just look at the uniforms, okay? You got the green jacket, and it's paired with either brown pants for dudes or green skirts for girls, though Ninny wears these sort of like shorts with like suspenders, which I gotta admit, they look fantastic. But they also rock this like red and black plaid, possibly flannel. It kind of looks flannel in some in some frames, and then other frames it looks just kind of more flat, like just regular plaid. Regardless, it's like this red and black, we'll say flannel mini cape, right? And it looks so good. It looks fantastic. And of course, you would need a cape. It's cold when you're flying through the sky. Like, it's things that you don't think of that Kubo's like, nah, man, it'd be hella cold. You'd want like a flannel cape when you're up there. It's cold flying through the sky. Like, you don't really think about it. Kubo thought about it, and I love it. And when you just look at even like the green in the design, right? Like, let's take a look at the green jacket. What are they trying to say with their uniform, right? Like, schools think of this shit sometimes, like especially in anime. Like creators will think of what they want the uniform to say about that particular setting, about that particular school or association or whatever, secret society, the Soul Society. Anyway, the colors matter, right? So let's take a look at the green in the jacket. Obviously, I've said this before in other videos, green is definitely like an earthy tone representing harmony and restoration, and I think that that's very much clear here, right? They're meant to bring peace to both reverse London and regular London, so of course the jacket is green. It's a restorative color. When you see green, you sort of think of like healing and like earth and Mother Nature. So you think of like this restoration, this sort of harmonious nature, hence the green jackets. As for the red and black flannel, that to me is clearly trying to hint towards the courageous and confidence with the red shade, as well as authority and power with the black, right? It's basically meant to symbolize not only are these people here like to restore and heal Reverse London, because Reverse London gets hit a lot in this episode with dragons, but it's also meant to show that these are the brave heroes of peace and order in Reverse London. They are to be respected. When you see them show up, like when you see people with those uniforms, with that like sort of mini cape, they are to be respected, they are to be listened to, and they are there to do courageous and brave things, hence the red and black color scheme. Again, color matters, and I think that Kubo specifically picked some very solid color choices here with Burn the Witch and the uniforms for Wingbind. I think they're absolutely fantastic. Even like the other characters, right? Just we're going overtime, so just to go very briefly into some of the other character designs. You have Ninny, who's rocking this like bright blonde hair and like this like really like piercing green eyes, and she's rocking these like red spiked headbands and this sort of like general punk posture, and I think that's perfect, right? The red spiked hairbands in particular, I think are like the most stand out about Ninny, and especially paired with like her general attitude, it's perfect. Like the red definitely exudes a sort of like confidence and fiery nature, and the fact that they're spiked shows that she's kind of standoffish, you know? It's really solid character design. And even just looking at other characters like Balgo, he's got like the teal eyes, the soft eyes, the gray hoodie. He's sort of like lackadaisical and calm in nature, and he's always hugging Oshushi, so you know how much he cares about his doggo, stuff like that. All these characters have aspects to their designs that Kubo really focused on in order to make them feel more like proper characters before you really get to know a whole lot about them. It's part of the reason why I like Balgo so much. It's part of the reason why I immediately connected with Macy. The short pink hair, pink being a young color, pink usually being shown to be feminine, but also sort of like naive in nature. Perfect for her character design, as well as the white coat. She's pure, she's innocent, she's not sure. White is often associated with purity, so a lot of the designs are just friggin' fantastic. Kubo absolutely went in. And again, a credit, I didn't do my research on this one, so I don't know who did the character design specifically for the anime adaptation, but kudos both to Kubo as well as whoever translated Kubo's designs into the show. They did a fantastic job, as well as the color design, whoever did color design on the series as well. The palette's perfect. I literally loved so much of this show, but especially the way that especially the way that it looks. The production on the show is fantastic. Sure, some of the story stuff I do feel was rushed, but of course it was going to be rushed given the nature of the adaptation. It's only 3 episodes. So with that said, I desperately need I need a whole ass season. I need either a sequel with more episodes or a whole ass season. Kubo, please. I know that you're being smart and you're taking your time with this, okay? And I respect that completely, totally. 100%. In fact, if anything, I think Shonen Jump should allow mangaka to take breaks, you know, like just so that they don't go insane. But I'm gonna need a whole season, so I might need you to work a little bit faster, Kubo. Might need a little bit faster. No, I'm kidding. Take your time. But like, I need more. But with that said, everybody, that is basically all of my thoughts on Burn the Witch. I could probably keep going, but I am trying to keep these videos like around the 20-minute mark, so hopefully we're either just under that or like just above, somewhere around 20. We want to be around the 20-minute mark. We don't want to go too far over. So with that said, if you guys enjoyed, don't forget to boop that up snoot, share if you care, and I swear if you did not ring that sub button, I will throw a dragon at your face. I have that power. You better hit that. You better hit that sub button. You better ring that bell. You better do it. You need more seasonal content? I got your back. You better ring that bell. Ring that bell. Let AnyTube know that you're here. Anyway, also have to give a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. Look at these beautiful people. Look at all these beautiful names, and hey, if you would like to join these beautiful people, there are now 2 ways to do so. The first is by hitting that Patreon link in the description, and the second, for just a wee bit more, is by hitting that join button next to the sub button. Get yourself a badge next to your name in the comments and premiere chats, as well as emotes to spam in said comments and premiere chats. And if that sounds cool to you, then go ahead and hit that join button. It super helps out the channel, as well as get your name at the end of these videos too. So once again, a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. I am going to go rewatch episodes of Bleach now, because all of a sudden I want to rewatch Bleach. Did you all catch that the Bleach reference at the end in the title? Ah, so clever. Anyway, until next time, you stay classy, AnyTube, and wash your dang hands.